Good afternoon, Scott Redler, T3 Live. Welcome to today's recap. It is Tuesday, my first recap since being back from my little trip to Florida, which went well. A little sore, but big obstacle. We talked about the 100-mile race, and my cousin finished, and it was definitely hotter than he would have thought, and I did more miles than I thought I would have to, but all in all, he set his mind to it, and nobody gave up. And in the theory of nobody giving up, I know a lot of traders that have been frustrated and trying to make money, and they try and make a career out of this, and the markets change, and it's hard to keep up with it and change with it because of just the style that you have, or the style or the action that the market is showing us or giving us or in front of us. So with that being said, I know when I left, I had about 7-8 longs, thinking that we were going to break out, and I wanted to participate with the breakout, trade from from remote, and try and give things room and be involved, almost like somebody who doesn't trade actively every day, but has a job and wants to stay in an intermediate trend, because we do try and focus on the intermediate trend to capture bigger moves. And looking at the chart of the S&P, if you remember last Thursday, right before leaving, this is where we were at. Okay, we broke above and closed above, okay, this little pivot. You had 2110. And then you had 2117, strong close above it. After this lower pivot, a higher pivot, another higher pivot, and then finally, after the frustrating range, figured try and be long the best acting stocks in some various groups to to participate. So that's what I tried to do, and it worked out somewhat well. There was definitely some surprises, and there's always surprises, and ways to manage around them. So all in all, today was a little tricky, okay, fast forwarding to today, because, you go to your 5-minute chart to see the SPX. Let's go with the spiders, okay. It wasn't much, but if you had a lot of longs on, into this move, it definitely sort of hurt. And the question is, like, how could you have seen it? So if this was like a daily chart, you look at, this nice wedge-type pattern, very tight, broke to the upside, right? Boom, boom, boom. Looked like we were going to break out again and close strong, and then they quickly pulled the rug. So on a quick note, just as far as like small red dog reversal, okay, this was your pivot. This was your 213.40. Traded above it, probably squeezed some extra shorts, got some people involved, and then failed. So right there, if you were quick, that was your spot to reduce some risk. Say, okay, we just pushed through, came back below, failure. Some people that follow Robin the Black or whoever probably said, here's your, whatever this was, a 15-minute or a 30-minute wedge, resolved to the downside. You would call this inside and down, okay? And same way this was inside and up. So if you're just trading these triangles, it doesn't really matter to you, what's next. But anyway, this was your small red dog reversal, and if you got out here, you weren't in this 70-cent down move in the spiders, okay? And you had actually trading this just with patterns. Look at that, breakout failure, broke this ascending channel to the downside, small bounce. What's this called? A bear flag continuation. So on a quick, if you were looking for a failure, at this little 30-minute time period probably made you a lot of money. If you were long, you had to figure out whether you could sit in it and what this really means. And if you go back to the daily chart, doesn't really mean much. Let's go back to the SPX because I marked this one up. All it means is you had a bit of a doji day, after 1, 2, 3, 4 days to the upside, still above the 8 days, still above the 21 days, still above the prior breakout, but the market's not going to make it easy for everyone. You look at the Russell real quick, same type of thing, inside day, not a blockbuster day, not anything, just inside day. Look at the size of this bar. It held about half of it, showing some commitment, so we'll see if we get another inside day for that to continue. This sector, broke down right here on that outside day, found some support, reclaimed all the moving averages, broke above, and now we'll see if it could flag and continue. Let's see what the bios did today. Bios actually acted even better. It actually went above yesterday's high and small inside day, above all the moving averages, coming into a bit of a trend line, so maybe it pauses there. Okay, but all in all, lots of decent action in the bios and mid caps. What'd you do today? Not much. It had a big move, right? This was, when it broke out of the inside range, gave you a little flag, continued, and now, this. So all in all, on all these daily charts, just another day in the life of the market as it tries to break out, digest, and becomes a little choppy. So you need to have your right tier system so you could hold things and trade around things. I know, in high beta land, the real money has been made long Netflix, long, some of those other names, even long a Tesla. But for the day, if you're a day trader, a lot of guys made good money short Netflix today. Look at that, this move. Okay, so from the long side, you talk about patterns. This was after earnings, right? I remember I posted this chart right here. It looked great for a breakout above this tight range. Bull, flag with a big earnings pro gap. Continued, gave you one day, came in, tested it, and then you had the news on China. Okay, and then you had 2 days to the upside, and then today I know people on the side were talking about shorting versus the high of the day. Not cost averaging a short, not putting yourself in jeopardy of going out of business, but you have your 5-minute bar. You look here, okay? It was, it had its first move with the market, and then all of a sudden it went sideways, got very, very tight. Some people started saying, oh, I'm short Netflix versus the high, so you're short 625 versus 627.90, that's $3 risk, and then you had your inside and down, okay? And it wound up trending lower all day below this little 21-day moving average on a 5-minute. So if you shorted here versus there and said, I'm out of here, I'm going to let it work out. I think Mike Lee had a really good trade. Boom. Could have made 10 points or whatever, depending on what you wanted to do. And then here was the opening gap from the day. So came in, small bounce, and then this could have been another entry. You could have shorted more because what happens to gaps when they go in there, they typically get filled. You could have shorted 622. That could have been your add. And then it quickly came down to 619, so another $3. Came up, retested it, couldn't reclaim it, and continued down. So today on the day trading side, Netflix was a great short. And again, you talk about things that are extended from the 8-day. This was very extended from the 8-day, made sense. Tesla played around also and gave you a small topping tail. On the daily, what does it mean? Doesn't really mean that much. Okay, this was your descending channel, broke to the right side of it, reclaimed the 200-day, and then has trailed higher. So what was today was a little bit extended from the highs. So, some people, I remember this day I caught actually a nice short there too. This day, not a blockbuster, but it traded above 249.90, put a high in at 251, came back below it. You could have shorted there with the stop at the high of the day and made a little bit of money. And now we'll figure out if there's continuation to the downside tomorrow with the futures. And what you have to do is you have to figure out if we continue to hold this, the 8-day moving average. And at this point, it's just a little extended from it. So 2 strong stocks on the daily chart made you a lot of money long, but tactically you can make some money short there too, based on whether you're very, very active or you're holding things for swings. And if you're holding things for swings, if you were in tier 2 of Netflix and Tesla hopefully today with that reversal type pattern, you got a little lighter. So if you wanted to buy the dip, you can. As far as Apple, still looks good. Okay, not much follow through today. You had a little upside follow through in the morning. Before the morning call, I think was like the high of the day. Still above. We talked about it clearing this 127.60, gave you a nice move, and then really this is just an inside day above the 8 and 21 day. Not a lot of power. Can't expect a day like this each time. It'd be nice if you had like 2 days in a row, not green day, pause day, green day, pause day, and had follow through. But you know what? It is what it is, I guess. Here is the failure at earnings, and then you had your corrective phase, and it's been a decent-sized move. Uncle Carl says it can go to 240. He was on halftime today. Didn't really respond to that. Go to your 5-minute chart. You'll see how choppy today was, and this is, this was your move that some people sold. Came in, retested. If you look at it on the 15-minute, came in, retested this moving average and held. That's why sometimes it's good to have a 2-day chart of the 15 minutes. You can see where support is from the prior day. So that did hold. Got real tight, broke out above it, and then failed. So this is not fun, especially if you were adding up here for continuation. Here was really your add. Up here maybe C, and then boom, you had to get stopped out of some, and then, or right here. So all in all, does it mean Apple, trade is done? It just means that it's very tricky, and you have to use a tier system if you're going to be using excess size just to create cash flow. And this was not the easiest thing to deal with. I was long it all day, and I'm still long it but I'm not in as much as I had overnight, because overnight there was momentum. It felt as if, you were going to get the headlines of, Carl saying 240, et cetera, and it didn't really happen. So now we'll see what type of inside move it happens in here. The banks are really strong. I actually sold my Citigroup at the end of the day. So good trade. I really didn't have much of a reason to sell it, except for things were coming in on me. I think I bought it on that Thursday before I left. I added on this down move, sold half yesterday, sold the rest today. Nice trade there. Goldman Sachs, big move, a little extended. That helped lead the way, extended from the 8th day. I guess I'm trying to be a little too cute here, which sometimes gets you out of a trade. It doesn't mean it's a short. Morgan Stanley, here's those old highs. Looks like that could take out. It's above the moving average. So the banks have been real strong. And then, late in the day, you had some news with YHOO and Baba and China. I didn't know how to make it out. All I know is it blew out a lot of correlations. It hurt a lot of people because, YHOO actually made sense because, there was a gap here from earnings, okay, and it basically got in it. So if some people had stops, they got filled. Nobody thought it would go below this and go all the way down here, but no one, in our training would be buying it ahead of this gap. If anyone, people probably were looking to short it for a quick trade, and if you shorted it, you had a good trade. But the whole thing is some people probably shorted Baba with it, because they've been trading kind of together, and then all of a sudden they blew out the correlation. Now for me, it's a little tender subject because I had a lot of Baba as I was away, and I was telling some of our new recruits here, as a Sunday, I'm reading about counterfeit news with Gucci and this and that. I'm like, oh, I have to deal with it down open. So anyway, that happened. And again, it's probably my fault. Because if you look, the real stop was the earnings gap, 84.91. Okay, if you were having it as a swing trade, which I was trying to do, okay, but I guess I have bad memories from Baba because of this downtrend and the pain that it inflicted on people trying to, have a breakout here, failed. Breakout here, into that, failed. Here, into the trend line, failed. So to me, I was like, I don't just want to deal with this anymore with the stock. And then all of a sudden, end of the day, people started probably shorting it with YHOO, and then it exploded, and now it's right back into this area. I'm going to try and, I didn't take it home long because I didn't deserve to. I sold it when it broke this level here at 86.60. All it did is go to 88.47. Felt like, happy that it was out of my life. Like, okay, Baba's done. Stock has my number, kind of like sometimes Google has my number or whatever. And then, it actually was a great trade the first month it came public, but, that felt like a gazillion years ago. It wasn't that far ago. And then it exploded. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. If you have it long, take a look. If you had just held through this entire mess, you look at it now, it's really not that big of a deal. But I guess you have to go with size management. And for me, I had too much there. So, just wanted to get out of the way. So here you are back at this area. If it were to get above this 89, 89.25 with authority, all of a sudden, boom. There's the gap that could be filled to the upside, and typically that kind of trade could happen fast. So that's why people were so interested in it anyway. And it still held the earnings gap. So for me, I just messed it up. And maybe I'll have the wherewithal to approach it again tomorrow because I'm trying to, we all have to change. And it's, the stock doesn't remember. It got me out yesterday, So if it does what I wanted it to do tomorrow above that area, I can't say I lost these 2 days and, and it had bad pricing. Let's reapproach the trade if the setup is there. So I think that's a good thing to write down in your notebook is reapproaching a trade that you thought would happen a few days ago that didn't. If it happens tomorrow or the day after, it doesn't mean you can't try it again. It just wasn't ready when you wanted it. So we'll see what happens there tomorrow. And, Google, I tried it. And again, one of those stocks that I say has my number. This has been a choppy mess, and I thought perhaps it would power above the 200. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Maybe it'll try again. But again, while everything pulled in, I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to hold Google overnight, so we'll see what happens if it could hang in here and then perhaps reclaim that 200-day. Because as of right now, it doesn't look like much yet. It's a laggard, so it has to be perfect for me to own a laggards overnight. So we'll see. But at this point, 553 will be the pivot if it gets through with authority, like we've seen sometimes, like right here. Then I'll go with it, but as of now, it's somewhat nothing. So with all that said, market's been in somewhat of a breakout mode. It's lacked power. It hasn't had that much conviction. You've had oil weaker. You've had oil stocks weaker. You had housing number that was good. Came off the highs. You have metals that have been kind of taking the bugs out to the woodshed every time I look at the metals. Metal starts to look good, closes here, you know, hold on one second, right into highs, right? Looking like it's going to take out the 200-day, big gap up, and then boom, right back down into this area. Did the same thing here. It's hard. Metals are hard. Oh, I forgot about the dollar. Dollar, you know, I talked about the reversal last week. Bought it here. I guess sometimes not being in front of your desk and traveling, because I probably would have sold it on this day, but I held it and I sold into there. And now we'll see if this gap up holds to see if the dollar strength comes back. And that's about it. I have to catch a ferry. It's 4:28. Hopefully, you know, you're taking trades. You still have to take trades in this market. You still can't be just buying strength, because buying strength is hurt. You know, also just trying to be long something that was strong a few days ago. You have to be careful. Some guys got caught in Amazon. Amazon, for some reason, has not been trading well. Okay, you had the gap up after earnings. It pulled in and thought, you know, it put in, you know, its bottom here, and then you had your topping tail there. And since then, it's been just grinding lower and definitely hurting people who have been just trying to buy it. So at this point, we'll see if Amazon holds the 21-day, which is here. But overall, you know, there's not that much memory in a lot of these names. So if it's strong one day, these complexions keep changing. And, you know, if you're going to keep trying it, just know that, you know, you do it a level versus a level versus, you know, getting yourself blown out of water. And that's that. I'll see you tomorrow morning at the morning call with Brittany. Have a great night.